Welcome to Junior Achievement of New Jersey's Executive Leadership Panel featuring Peapack Gladstone Bank. My name is Alan Ariana, and I will be the JA moderator for this exciting panel discussion. During this session, we will hear from the Peapack Gladstone team, a dynamic and diverse group of successful industry professionals who will share inspirational words of wisdom, share lessons learned, and share advice on how to overcome challenges and develop the skills necessary to stand out as a successful young leader. Before I introduce our amazing panelists, here is a financial thought of the day. Think about this quote throughout the panel and what it means to you. A dream doesn't become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work, by Colin Powell. Now I'm excited to introduce our panelists. With us today, we have Maureen Hemhauser, John Cowell, Heather Hendry, Bill Gascoigne, and Peter Wahlberg. I'd like to thank you all for volunteering to share your story and experience for New Jersey students to learn and grow from. Introducing our panelists, can Bill please start off by introducing yourself, your current role, and a fun fact about yourself? Bill?
Sure. Thanks, Alan. My name is Bill Gascoigne. I've been a banker, I hate to admit it, for 46 years. My role within the bank is I had a group called Professional Services. And in English, we lend money to and take deposits from accounting firms, law firms, and their partners. Fun fact, I once had a hole-in-one in a charity golf outing for the Red Cross, and I won a car.
Thank you, Bill. Heather?
That's a really cool fun fact, Bill. I wish I could win a car someday. Hi, everybody. My name is Heather, Heather Hendry. Let's see. My current role at the bank is information security and risk management. Basically, my role, along with John's and Maureen's, and you'll hear about theirs, is to keep all of our client and bank information safe. So we deal a lot with cyber things, ransomware, all that really exciting stuff. So more to come on that. But a fun fact about me is I really love to go to the beach, and I didn't go all last summer, but I am dying to get there. So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Atlantic City. So really excited to get back there. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Heather. John?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Cowell. I'm the Chief Technology Officer here at Peapack Gladstone Bank, and I've been here almost 6 years. So I oversee our technology and our data and analytics group. A fun fact about me, love doing work around the house, renovating bathrooms, updating kitchens. My wife is an interior designer, so we've renovated a few of our homes, and it's always good to have a hobby outside of the career, but that's about me.
Thank you, John. And Maureen?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maureen Hemhauser. I'm the Chief Risk Officer and Head of Compliance here at Peapack Gladstone Bank. My role is to administer the bank's anti-money laundering program to make sure we're not bringing in any money launderers or terrorist financiers. Also, a fun fact about myself, I will say I love baseball, and I was and still am the only girl that played in the senior A's in my little league growing up. So that's just a fun fact about me. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Maureen. And Peter?
Thank you, Alan. Again, my name's Peter Wahlberg. I'm a senior wealth advisor for Peapack private section of the organization, where my role is to try to preserve, protect, and transition families' wealth and assets to the next or third generations to do that. Fun fact about me, prior to my finance or business career, I worked with in the family business. I was a professional wedding and portrait photographer before coming over to into banking. So a little bit different.
Thank you, Peter. And our first question here that we have for the day is sharing your job story. So what do you do to earn a living, why you chose to do it, and what do you love most about your work? Bill, can you start us off?
Sure. So to earn a living, my primary function is to convince professional firms, lawyers, accountants to bank with Peapack Gladstone Bank and convince them that that's a good move for them. And in terms of what we might do for professional firms, some of you say, well, why would a law firm or accounting firm even need money? In truth, they need money like any other business for working capital, for capital expenditures. Some of them might own their own building. We lend money for partner buy-ins, partner buyouts, and also merger activity. What I love about my job is I get to rub elbows with a lot of very interesting people, and I get to network with what we call centers of influence, COIs, which lawyers and accountants are centers of influence.
Thanks, Bill. Heather, would you mind sharing your job story with us?
Of course. I'd love to. So I've been with the bank for, it'll be 15 years in October, which I absolutely can't believe. And I didn't start where I am now, but I'll explain how I got there in a minute. So basically my role at the bank, we wear a lot of hats here, we like to say, especially in risk and compliance and technology. But as I mentioned a few minutes ago, my main role is to keep our clients' data safe. So all those clients that Bill brings in, I have to protect their data, along with performing risk assessments in many different areas, including cybersecurity, third-party risk management, and business continuation planning, which really came in handy at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I started in a different area of the bank. I moved around a lot, and I ended up in risk, which I truly love my job. I love the people that I work with. And I think the best part about it is the people who do make my job a lot easier and very enjoyable.
Thanks, Heather. And Maureen, would you mind sharing your job story with us today?
Sure. Like I said, my role as Chief Risk Officer and Head of Compliance. So I administer the bank's entire enterprise risk program. So that includes fraud, security, all of our vendor management, all of the compliance regulations. We have 72 consumer compliance regulations that a bank is obligated to comply with. So we're responsible for ensuring that the bank complies with all 72 of those regulations. And in addition, like I mentioned before, I also administer the bank's anti-money laundering program. So we track transactions throughout all accounts, and if it hits an alert for too much cash not making sense for a business, then we report what we have to. I'm getting a Teams call. Hold on, I have to hang up on that. Sorry. It's virtual world. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, and my job. So I started my career right out of college at the FDIC, one of the federal banking regulators, and I worked there for 12 years. I took a buyout and stayed home with my kids for a few years, and then went back to work at a consulting firm for an old friend of mine. And I was actually this bank's consultant for 5 years before the president convinced me I needed to come on board as the Chief Compliance Officer here. So that's how I wound up at Peapack. I've been here for 6.5 years. I love what I do. I feel passionate about fair lending. I've devoted my entire career to equal credit and fair lending, and also the USA Patriot Act, which came in to effect after 9/11. So anyway, those are my passions. I love what I do. I love the people that I work for, and I'm blessed to have this job.
Thank you, Maureen. Our question here we have, what did you want to be when you were in middle and high school, and how does that connect to where you are today? John?
Yeah, so, I sort of always knew I wanted to be in technology. I certainly looked at other fields, but my true passion was around technology. I liked fixing computers. I was good at it. I liked seeing what was possible with computers, doing some basic programming. And I, of course, liked video games, which, especially back then, required you to know a lot about technology. So, my career path almost seemed a little clearer. But don't get me wrong, even in high school, I didn't know specifically what I wanted to do or where I would end up, right? I wasn't exactly spending my high school years researching, banking software, which is where I'm at today, right? I had interests and hobbies that eventually facilitated a career. And, think of it this way: of all the accountants I know, I can't name a single one who was filling out tax forms in middle school either. They liked math, they were good at it, they liked solving problems and challenges. Because right now is not necessarily time to determine exactly what your career will be, right now is the time to determine your interests, your hobbies, and really whatever you're passionate about. And your career path may not always be as clear. So for example, if your current passion and hobby is you're captain of your sports team, but you might say, well, I'm not sure I want that as a career, but I do love it. Think about this. What is it you like about being captain of your team? Is it the leadership aspect? You might have a future in business management. Do you love competitiveness? You may have a future in sales. Because overall, I think passion is important, and it's time to start thinking about that. With my passion technology, I'll be at home reading things online, and I enjoy reading tech news. The rumors about the next iPhone or something like that. And at the end of the day, I'll always have the advantage over someone who treats technology as just another job and goes home and doesn't even want to think about it. So my advice to you around this and where you're currently at is spend some time, find what you're passionate about, discover your hobbies, and I can assure you a successful career will follow that.
Thanks, John. Peter.
Well, thank you. I'll answer the same question. John took a lot of the thinking along the same lines as John as well too. So back in middle school, my career aspirations were to be first baseman for the Yankees, but that didn't exactly work out. But and then through the years, then in high school stuff, I wasn't exactly sure which direction I wanted to go. So again, I tried a number of different types of classes and whatever, just to have experience in different things to see what I felt a more passion or leaning towards direction. So I enjoyed math side of things, problem solving ideas, and that led me towards different things to think about in college then. So then the liberal arts education for me was important because I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. So it gave me an experience too in different types of fields, and then all really combined into a career for me for finance. I found a pull towards that, more of a passion to that. To be honest, my freshman year, I did start out taking a couple pre-med courses, and I found out I did not want to be a doctor because of organic chemistry. And so then I moved to more of the finance courses, and then I enjoyed the problem solving side of things, and then also the ability to work with others and teamwork with different projects to get done in the business side of things. I enjoyed that very much, and then the career in banking gave looking towards that was it gave me the ability to work with others, to do the teamwork, communicative skills, problem solving skills, all that. Business is everything. So all that stuff that you think you take in classes don't mean anything to you, it really does. The writing ability. I even took a acting class again for presentation skills, things like that. All help in regards to molding you into an individual that's important and productive to a organization. I'll throw it back
Thanks,
to you,
Peter.
Alan.
Our following question we have: explain what your educational path looked like. Did your education guide you to the career you're currently in, or did things shift along the way? Maureen?
So following up on what John said about not stressing out, about not necessarily knowing at this point in your life what you really want to do, like he said, follow your passion. But I can tell you that I was an accounting major, and I went to a private Catholic college because I thought I wanted to be a nun. So I went to, test out the waters. I became a Eucharistic minister. I was majoring in accounting and minoring in religion. And in the end, because of the circumstances, I decided that I was going to go for a business career instead of becoming a nun. I had promised myself to go work with the disadvantaged in Jamaica, and I didn't get there. So I had to shift again. They didn't have a place to stay for me in the rectory down there. Anyway, I shifted back to doing an internship for Revlon in the accounting department. And then I left college with a job with the FDIC. And so, my whole point is don't worry if you don't know right now, because I was focused on becoming a nun and have had a 30-year career in banking. So
Thank you, Maureen.
I just
John,
wanted
can-
to I just wanted to
ahead.
bring up one thing about our education paths. John, I'm going to let you talk in a minute, but when we were prepping for this, I just wanted to mention that one of the reasons I got my job right out of college was because I relied so heavily on the career development center at my college. And I have stressed that to every young kid I know that's in college, including my own. And my daughter just got a job out of just graduating Stockton, and that was through her career development center. So I just wanted to stress that when we were prepping for this, we said we should bring that up and let people know to make sure if you go on to a college or university, make sure you use the resources there. I'm sorry, go ahead, John, I cut you off.
No, all good, and great, good points. With regards to me, as I mentioned, I sort of always knew I wanted to go into technology, but I never really liked programming. And I talked to people in the profession. They told me, listen, if you want to go and get a career in technology, you need to get a computer science degree. That's the degree you should be looking at. Nowadays, there's many different degrees associated with IT and IT management. But back then, if you wanted a job with computers, it was assumed you were going to be a programmer. And I certainly use programming in my job, but my job is far from writing code all day. So while I worked through that computer science degree, I got an on-campus job with my college's IT department. And that job was extremely relevant to the work I do today. Anything I could get my hands on or work on, I would do. When I graduated, our country was going through a very bad economic recession. I had friends who had offers from very large companies, and the company would call up and say, sorry, we have to pull back that offer. The economic climate is just changing too rapidly and at a negative pace. So that on-campus job gave me some very real practical experience and made a big difference when I was interviewing. So, I found out my interviewers were really interested in that practical experience, and it made sense. It was a recession. For the few companies that were hiring, they needed someone who could get to work on day one and someone who had that practical experience. So, I want you to consider this when you're in college and, maybe even before college. What can you do to get some real practical hands-on experience with the field that you're looking into? You might want to talk to someone in the field because I bet they'll have a lot of answers for you. Internships and outside jobs certainly help here, on campus jobs like I had. But also when you do projects in college that are related to your career, save them. Because that way, when you show up in interviews, you can hand them something and say, here's a project I did in college related to what your company does today. And it's a great way to say, here's what I can do. Here's what I can start doing on day one for you. So keep that in mind. It's important to do, and it's certainly not as hard as it sounds, but just keep that in mind about finding that good practical experience to build your resume.
So, Alan, it's Pete. I just wanted to see if I could jump in 1 second. Just wanted to mention one other thing too, to add to what John said too, with regards to the internships. So take advantage of that. We see more and more in this day and age that most people are getting recruited or land business opportunities because they did the internship with an organization. It's almost like a tryout, if you will, and it gives you the experience as well too. We at Peapack have between 10 to 15 interns per summer to do that. So it's very good experience, and I think everyone should always look at that when they're in school to take advantage of those internships. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Definitely, you can use popular apps like LinkedIn. If you're finding any high school alums, or if you're in college, if you're looking for any recruiters, that's a perfect way to network and find these internships, as long in the same lines as researching any popular companies or specific roles that you'd like to intern as. These are great ways to network, guys. Our next question we have here is for Bill. How many different types of jobs have you had, and did all of them relate to your current position?
Thanks, Alan. So I've been a banker my whole career, so I'm going to go back in time to when I was in 8th grade through college. And in no particular order. I was a greenskeeper at a golf course, a water boy at a golf course, a caddy, and when I was in college, I did some landscaping to make money on the side. Um, None of those relate to banking. However, Alan, the follow-up question is, do they relate to your current position? No, but they taught me the value of hard work, and they taught me some important interpersonal skills. When you're caddying, I don't know if anybody listening here has ever caddied at a golf course, but it's a great way to make a living, and it's very lucrative. But you spend 4 hours on a golf course with somebody, you get to know them very well, and the relationship between caddy and player is important. Uh, and it taught me some valuable interpersonal skills that I've used over my 45 years in banking.
Thanks, Bill. Maureen, can you let us know the different types of jobs you had and if they all relate to your current position?
So just like Bill, I'll go back 30 years. I did not have all my jobs relate to banking at all. I worked at a movie theater all through high school. I worked at a hardware store during college. And then I actually went on to work at Revlon and did an internship there in the accounting department. So that helped me prepare to interview and get my job right out of college, which I said earlier, I was hired on campus through my college campus center with one of the federal banking agencies, which was the FDIC. I'm sure all of you, when you walk into a bank, it says member FDIC. So the FDIC insures your deposits in a bank, but they also regulate all of the state non-member banks throughout the country. So I was there for 12 years. I went on to be a consultant with my friend who had started a consulting firm for all banks in New Jersey that eventually went countrywide. And then like I said, I was the bank's consultant here, and I got hired from my consulting agency right into Peapack. So not all, but like Bill said, they all taught me something, not just the jobs I had, but I did play 3 seasons of sports for 4 years in high school. And I said everything I learned that helped me get every job I ever had. I think I learned either on a court or a field. I learned how to win. I learned how to lose. I learned how to play with people every day that I didn't necessarily love, but they were part of my team. So a lot of skills from every experience from 6th grade on up.
Thanks, Maureen. And this goes to all of the viewers right now. Definitely doesn't matter if you're able to land a huge job or a small job. What matters is the skills that you learn from it and the interpersonal skills that essentially you take on to the many different jobs in your life. And here we have, what did you learn from your first job, either positive or negative? Heather?
Sure. So going back 20 years, and I can't believe I'm saying that, my first job was at Dairy Queen in my town that I grew up in. And clearly the most positive was the fact that I had my own money, which was great. So I didn't have to ask my mom for anything. I could take care of myself, buy myself clothes, go to the movies, whatever. And also I learned how to build relationships with my coworkers. It was really, really cool to start to get to know people that you not necessarily would have known, and working with them and actually enjoying their company. The negative part of this job, though, which I've always remembered, is I learned how not to treat people. So my boss wasn't the nicest man, and he was pretty rough on some of his employees. And I remember, when I had to deal with him, I thought to myself, if I ever get to be somebody's boss, I am not going to treat people like that. And I am somebody's boss now. I have a few people. And I always remember that, how mean he was and how it made me feel. And it's not worth it. So it's 20 years ago, and I still remember, a lot of that today. So there were positives and negatives, but by far the best was having my own money in my pocket.
Thanks, Heather. And John, what did you learn from your first job, either positive or negative?
So a few people have talked about their first job going all the way back, and I have some interesting stories about my first job actually out of college, which was definitely a big moment, right? So my first job out of college was a small 70-person company. I was one of 2 people in the IT department, and as I mentioned, the country was going through a rather large recession, so I counted myself very lucky to have a job in the field that I wanted. But a little less than a year in, I got an email from a consulting company, and they had my resume from when I was in college and had a new spot open up. And I was tempted to just ignore the email. You know, the life was busy. But I decided, hey, let me interview, mostly assuming I probably wouldn't proceed. And the opportunity actually seemed exciting. But my initial thoughts were, listen, I have a decent job. Why risk it? It does seem like a cool opportunity. I don't know too much about this company. And I've only been at my current job for 9 months. Wouldn't look terrible to have such a short job on my resume, especially if the new one didn't work out. But despite my reservations, you know, I took a big chance and took the job. And it wasn't easy at first. You know, the person who was supposed to train me actually accepted a new job and left the company a few days after I started. And one of my first major projects was actually riddled with technical problems. Not necessarily my fault, but it certainly didn't make for a great start. So I looked and I said, oh, you know, what did I get myself into? And things actually very quickly improved. That project with all those challenges and problems allowed me to work with and learn from and really get to know some of the most senior engineers at the company. And my hard work to get everything fixed was well recognized. Consulting also ended up being a great way to start my career, seeing the inner workings of over 100 companies. And I ended up working for a really great mentor. 4 or 5 years later, that company was acquired and that mentor went to go work for Peapack Gladstone Bank. And we kept in touch, and when a position opened up at the bank, I joined. And here I am today. You know, so I often think how different my career would have been for the worse if I didn't answer that original email, if I just decided to ignore it, or if I didn't take the risk and move jobs. So, you know, overall, what did I learn, right? Realize that your first job out of college or your first job in general is exciting, a huge accomplishment, a big step in your career, but it is truly only the beginning. Right, so always keep on the lookout for opportunity and ways to improve yourself. In this example, I found opportunity outside of the company, but growing within your company is also important, will be a major part of your career too. There's obviously some downside to constantly moving jobs as well. But big opportunities come with big risks, and you have to research that opportunity, you know, weigh those risks, and at the end of the day, ultimately, you have to trust your instincts, right? In these situations, you know, there's no easy answer, and I sort of went over with you why that job offer maybe wasn't the best idea right out of the gate. You know, it's a quick move. I just recently started learning about the company. But if you think you found a good opportunity, you know, get going and get ready to work hard.
Thanks, John. And are there any resources or additional information you think is important for students to know if they're interested in learning more about the type of work that you do, Maureen?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, my first job out of college was at the FDIC. I think it gave me, which is a federal banking agency, so it's a federal government job. But I think it gave me the best foundation. It gave me such a high level view. I was involved in examinations of over 150 different banks in my 12-year career there, and just, you know, taught me the ins and outs of banking from the outside looking in. And now I have a different perspective from the inside looking out. But I'll provide a list after the seminar is over, but there are at least 5 premier federal banking agencies, and I highly recommend anybody interested in a banking career to look into them. They give you such an amazing foundation in banking. They have incredible benefits. There's so many positives for working for the federal banking agencies. So I'll provide the list and the links and how you can get an internship there and how to pursue job opportunities. Anyone else?
Thank you,
We'll also
Maureen.
provide the link in for Peapack itself, just so you can see the different parts of the organization and the website. And again, you could review also the internship opportunities that we have this past summer we have already filled, but for the following year, people can consider that as well. So we'll add that to Maureen's list as well.
Thank you, Peter. Our next question here is, what is the most important skill you've learned throughout your career and how has it helped you? Bill?
So I'm in sales. My job is to bring in business to the bank. And I think big picture, networking is very important. The ability to go out into the world or into a room or at an event and Be willing to go up to people, introduce yourself, look them in the eye, and try to learn something about what they do. You know, within networking, and this will sound so basic, Alan, but just when you're meeting somebody, pay attention to what they're saying. You know, pay attention and be enthusiastic and listen to what they're saying. And for 40 years, listen, I'm not the smartest knife in the drawer, but when I go on a call, I bring a pad of paper, I take notes. When I come back, I do a call report so that I remember, hey, Alan was interested in a mortgage, or Alan might want to sell his company to somebody else. And it's just blocking and tackling. It's basic stuff, but pay attention, listen carefully, and show some enthusiasm. That's what I would say.
Thanks, Bill. And Heather, what would you say is the most important skill you've learned, and how has it helped you?
Sure. So, there's so many different skills that you pick up along the way. But I think one of the most important is definitely communication with your teams, your colleagues, your clients. Make sure that expectations are very clear. And also, not really a skill, but I've found this to be helpful. And then I was actually talking to somebody about this yesterday. If you're ever in a situation where you find yourself getting constructive criticism, take it as an opportunity for growth. We often hear of people who, if I had a conversation with you and I was telling you, all right, well, this was good, but you could have done it like this, which would have been even better. It's not a personal attack on your character. It's literally somebody that cares about you and your career and is trying to give you some tools to work with so you can grow and thrive in a company. So I know those are two kind of different things, but it's just been on my mind, and I thought it would be a good topic to discuss. So just be able to take constructive criticism and take a look at it, take a look at yourself, and try and move forward from there.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. And that's especially important for our audience since they're mostly high school students. Definitely take criticism, and that'll help you a long way. And next we have John. John, what is the most important skill you've learned? How has it helped you?
So, I'll say that being able to work with a team, teamwork is a necessity and an absolute requirement for a successful career, right? So as you begin your career, you're going to want to learn everything and be able to do everything. And that's actually a great attitude. You're going to learn a lot, but unfortunately, it's not sustainable. There's a phrase, a jack of all trades is a master of none, right? And it's hard to find success in a career without being able to master certain skills. So for example, I know a lot about technology, but my focus is on banking technology. If I went and applied at a pharmaceutical company for the position I'm in today, I could tell you I wouldn't get the job, and that's really what it comes down to. As you grow your career, you have to start focusing in on what you like and what you're good at. And that's why teamwork is important, because at the end of the day, you can't do everything yourself. Plus, you need to work with others to produce the best result, right? So this is important as you move into management too. Teamwork becomes even more important because you'd be a terrible manager if you try to do everything yourself. Teamwork is part of being a manager. And ultimately, you have to learn what you're best at, focus in on that, and then also learn what others are best at and work with them. And that's how you just drive the best result. And good results generally lead to a great career. So that's my thoughts.
Thanks, John. And Maureen?
I would have to say that mine is a combination of things, but starting with respecting others. In my career, I haven't always been able to give the best news to banks when I was auditing them, or when I was their consultant, or even now. Sometimes, like when I'm calling Billy G, he thinks he's told me he feels like the principal's calling him to the principal's office. So it's not always the easiest to be in my role, but if you treat everyone with respect and you're kind and you have empathy for the person you're talking to, you can be super effective no matter what news you have to deliver. So I would say that respect and your people skills in how you interact with everyone.
Thank you, Maureen. And Peter?
Yeah, just really to echo what Maureen was saying too, the respect aspect is extremely important, and that leads to collaboration with others within the organization too. Because when I bring a client into the bank, there's going to be different aspects that client's going to need from different sources within the organization. So I need to work with other parts of the organization as well as people above me or below me as well too, to collaborate to come for a solution for whatever client problem we have to do that. So it's the ability to reach across the aisle, to work together as a team, to collaborate, to come up with a concise thought pattern of how to deal with certain situations. So again, it's a combination: respect your colleagues, communicate, teamwork, and then the overall collaboration. You might have to give and take a little bit. You might not get everything you want, but again, there's a little bit bargaining involved as well too, in order to get the ultimate goals for the organization.
Yeah, definitely. And respect also leads into networking because you treat everyone with respect. You never know the opportunities that may arise for you in the future. And our next question here is, what advice would you give your younger self, Bill?
If I were going to be speaking to my younger self, I would say try to find a healthy work-life balance. That's a big topic today in business. And most of the young folks here have parents that work, and I'm sure many of them work long and hard hours. I work long and hard hours, as do all my fellow panelists, because we like what we do. But sometimes you need to step back, smell the roses. So I would say find a little more time for rest and relaxation. That would be my advice.
Thank you. And Heather, what advice would you give your younger self?
Sure. So actually, Alan, your quote at the beginning of the session really resonated with me. And I think if I had the opportunity to talk to my younger self, I would say, have more confidence in the person that you are right now. All of us are capable of doing great things as long as we put the hard work in and are willing to get there. It won't always be easy, but have the confidence that you're capable of doing incredible things.
Thank you, Heather. John, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, so and listen, this is something you hear a lot, and you hear it a lot because it's important. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to work hard and you can never give up, right? There's no special formula for success. There's a lot of books out there about it, but there's no special formula for success other than working hard. No one is innately smarter than you. You have to just work hard to achieve your goals. And listen, again, it seems obvious. And also sometimes it's easy to work hard, as Bill was saying, when you like what you're doing, when things are going well. But make sure you keep working hard when things aren't going well. You won't always succeed. Every successful career involves failures and setbacks, and that is a guarantee. When that happens, you take a moment to reflect, and it's okay to take a moment to reflect, right? Learn from it, but then get back to work. And that's I think a very important lesson.
Thank you, John. And Maureen.
I would have to say that I would tell my younger self not to limit myself, to, challenge myself more. I got very comfortable in my job and I was somewhat confident, but there were so many opportunities, especially in the government and postings. And it wasn't until I actually, moved forward and didn't limit myself that I started to progress in my career. So, early on, if there's that job that interests you, even within the company you're working for, go for it. Don't limit yourself and have confidence.
Thank you, Maureen. And Peter, what advice would you give?
Good. It's always great to be last. A lot of people said already good things, but again, it's a thought that I listened to one individual I admire very much, and I'm going to take her words for this, that I always resonated with me. As really was, listen to your inner voice. Block out a lot of the noise around you. What should you be, what you're expected to be, what must you be, type of thing. Follow your inner voice and your passion to do that at first. It's a lot more satisfying to yourself to follow that and kind of block out some of the other stuff of advice that you don't really need or appreciate, but follow that passion.
Thank you, Peter. And we have some extra time, so I'm just gonna ask a few more questions, and then anyone feel free to jump in and answer. Um, how do you keep your team and yourself motivated despite conflicts and obstacles such as the COVID-19 pandemic?
Here, I'll try that, Alan. What motivates me is doing a good job. We do it because we work for a good company. We do it because we get paid. We make a good living, all of us that do it. But I got to tell you, the pandemic really didn't shut us down at all. I mean, we worked remotely, but we were in constant touch with our clients. Partly, I'll give a nod to John and his technology team. I mean, we didn't lose one day working remotely with virtual private networks and all that kind of stuff. But I would say, to answer your question, we just rolled with the punches and worked hard through it. And now we're starting to come out of it. My clients are doing pretty well. Some of them got PPP money, Paycheck Protection Program, that was government handouts, because the world was coming to an end a year ago in March and April. But you still need accountants, you still need lawyers, you still need banks. Some industries, though, were hurt more than others. Hospitality, hotels, restaurants, travel.
So if I could jump into to follow up on Bill too, I think the beauty of our organization, again, what's also important, whatever company you decide to go with, is the corporate culture that's there. And we were faced with a lot of adversity with the pandemic. We had to make a lot of decisions of what to do, but then we also helped the community out tremendously, because what Bill mentioned before, this PPP program, or the protection program, with the ability for the bank to work with the Small Business Administration government to lend out money to companies that were in dire need of funds. So Peapack, we actually, a lot of us were doing different jobs. All about 150 of us were all pulled in to be part of this program, to help execute this, to get money out. And we ended up doing, for a smaller organization, we ended up doing over 600 million in loans, and we saved about 50,000 jobs. So for us, as an organization, there was a lot of pride with that. We could, stump our chest out with that. And that, again, I think was motivation for all of us, that we work for a great organization. The corporate culture was there, and it's something that we wanted to be and stay a part of. So that was, things have changed now. Things are coming out, what Bill said before. But again, we really felt like a team to step up and do something like that, that we take great pride in.
I'll just add on that too. When you're in a management position, you can go to your team and just say, do this, do this, do this, right? And that could work, but really the key is to make sure your team has a shared goal. They understand what the result is. They understand who you're helping. So if we're working to fix Peter's computer, that's going to allow Peter to help those clients during the pandemic. And bringing the whole bank on board with that was a very big step for us. Making sure everyone was aware that while you may not be working directly with a client, everyone was on board with helping and reaching that overall goal of helping our clients through the pandemic, terrible economic climate. And that was important, but it's the first thing you have to do as a leader before you embark on a project is say, how do I get my team to understand why this is important and why they should be doing this? And only then can you start the project, I think.
John, I'll just jump in and add to that. So the question was, how do you inspire your team in such tough times? And, I'm going to be honest, it was not easy. I have a team of 18, and then we all stood up other teams that we were part of to respond to this COVID-19 pandemic. But, quite honestly, we just tried to stay positive and stay in touch with our employees every day, keep track of them. We had staff meetings every day, hearing about what each of us was redeployed to do. And to be perfectly honest, sometimes back office bankers don't get the opportunity to change lives, but every single person on my team contributed to changing lives during this pandemic. We stood up a COVID-19 deferral mortgage team. So we were allowing people to stop paying their mortgage for 6 months. And, I said to my team, who are a bunch of, stiff back office compliance people, you are changing lives. You're the greatest worry people have is paying their rent or their mortgage, and you're allowing them, helping assist them in deferring that payment till after this is over. And again, like, Bill and Peter mentioned, our SBA PPP, we saved 50 something thousand jobs and took 150 people and redeployed them, and they were working overnights and weekends. And so I'm proud to say that in the face of diversity, this bank, rose to the challenge and changed lives.
Thank you, Maureen. Our following question is, how does the work environment play into the development of great ideas within your organization?
I can grab that one, Alan. So it's a really great question. And I think it's all about how comfortable you are with your colleagues and upper management. And going back to what Peter said about culture, if your culture allows you the opportunity to, speak freely if you have an idea about something that you may not be involved in. So I think our bank is like that. And it's funny because since we've all been working remotely for the past year, now some of us are back in the office, we've lost some of those opportunities to, walk into John's office and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or Maureen, I have this thought, can we talk about this? And, you can do that over Zoom or Teams or WebEx, but it's just not exactly the same. So, I think it really is all about the company culture, getting back to the original point, and your comfort level with your colleagues.
Yeah, Heather, it kind of goes back to your point on constructive criticism and taking feedback, and it's hard to do. It's something that you do have to force yourself through, and then once you get that feedback and you start acting on it, it becomes a lot more natural because you say that was great advice, that really improved things. And building a culture around that is very important too, where again, someone could come to my department and say, hey, have you ever thought about doing it this way? Or have you ever thought about this? Or I could really use some help with this. And building that culture where you say, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And then, by the way, we'll do that and we'll show you that we did that, that we took your feedback seriously. That's kind of how you build that culture. Whereas I did have some feedback, I gave it, and they made a change, and things are working a lot better now. Being in technology, we're kind of a company within a company. My key customers are employees that are at the bank, right? So if they come to me with feedback or they come to me with a suggestion, and I do that, ultimately they're going to be happy, and that reflects better on us. So making sure that you're open to that criticism or feedback or whatever it may be is very important. It's not necessarily something that's innate in all of us to do that, but you'll see as you progress your career how absolutely important that is.
Thanks, John. And our final question here is, are there any public figures you look up to for inspiration or mentorship? Is there anyone in particular that you would recommend high schoolers to look into?
Being in banking, a person I look up to is Warren Buffett, who's chairman of the board of Berkshire Hathaway, which is one of the biggest financial conglomerates in the country. And I've heard him speak many times. I'm a minor shareholder, so I get to get their annual reports. And I would recommend strongly that anybody listening on here Google Warren Buffett and just get to know a little bit of what he stands for. I mean, he's created a huge conglomerate. They own pieces of large companies, from Apple to the Washington Post, to railroads, to utilities, to insurance companies. And he's just one of the most astute investors of any generation. That would be my answer.
All right. Thank you, Bill. And we can't thank you enough for your transparency and sharing your stories with us today. We truly appreciate your time spent on this panel, and to the students watching and listening, we hope that the panelists' experiences will help guide you in your journey after high school. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, Alan.
Goodbye, everyone.